Thank you. That is much better. At least you're able to share. Kind of funny that I'm not able to in my own my own room. So so today we're going to be looking at what are those open educational resources and why we might want to use those, as well as steps you can take to customize your courses using. You're not seeing it, Sharon? Is anybody else seeing it? I'm able to see it. Okay, looks like everyone's able to see it. Sharon, do you want to try hopping out and hopping back in and see if, are you just seeing the screen with all the participants in there? Oh, and Janice says she's only seen Jane as well. Yeah. Yeah, we're having some weird Google issues this morning. Oh, maybe it's just delayed a little, you might be. Of course. Yeah, I can see that. So, yeah, might be having a little issues with that. We are recording this, so if there's, any part that you miss because you're not able to see the screen, or anything, we'll make sure to post that recording so you can go back and take a look. And don't forget, we also have the copy of the slides in that folder for that competency. So, in with the same place where you'll see the recording, you also see a copy of the slides if you need that. So, back to our webinar objectives. What we're really looking to do is see how we can use those open educational resources to customize and integrate some content into your course, and how you can take different pieces from different resources and put those together to make something that works for you with your students in your class. So, the open educational resources are really things that are available to you in a public domain. They're released under open license, and it allows you to access them without cost, which is a big deal, obviously, for schools. And then you can also adapt and redistribute them with very little or no restrictions. So, if you were to take pieces and put things together, the idea is that you then also could share that with other teachers, and we can build this community where everybody is sharing and we have this available to all learners. So here's the 5 R's of OER, which are to retain the information, which is basically you make a copy for yourself and you then have that content to use as you need it. And then the next R is reuse. So this is where you're actually going to be putting that information back up for your students, so that it's available to them. And this is when you're not altering anything. So you're just taking what's given and you just share it with your students directly how it is. Revise, obviously, is when you take something that already exists and you can change it and adapt it to fit the needs of your classroom and your students. And then remixing is really taking those different resources and possibly combining them and putting them together to make some new content that you can, again, and the last step I think is going to show up on there is redistribute. So this is when once you have something that's really great and you've tried it out, you can also share that with other educators. So, why we use OERs? This is really to supplement or replace your outdated materials and textbooks. We often find that there's not a budget to get new new textbooks, new materials. And so this is a way to allow for that without having to get funding from your school or your district. This also promotes that student-centered classroom because you can do a lot of personalization and differentiation with these free resources. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, right? So if you have, find some really great educational resources that work for the purpose that you need it for and meet those objectives, there's no reason for you to create your own. You can go ahead and use those if they're already vetted. You're going to have less bias because you're not making them personally for yourself. And they really look through those to make sure there's not incorrect information. You'll find that it's usually well done in terms of typos and misspellings that look unprofessional. These have already been vetted. So it gives you a chance to take that material and have that professional look for your students. And then also really moving more towards that digital environment or classroom where the students have access to that material at all times. And a lot of these resources have some great interactive content. So rather than just saying, read this chapter in the book, a lot of times there's different tools that they can use right in the resources that allow them to engage with the content at a lot higher level. And then really thinking of that inquiry and project-based learning. So if you are doing any project-based learning with your students, this is great because you can take the parts that you need based on that project that they're doing. So really finding those resources that are going to suit your needs. So the first thing, of course, we all know this as educators, I'm sure you've had this grilled into your head a million times, is starting with those state standards. So the biggest thing that I've found with using these resources is that, some of them are, specific to a particular state, to their content standards. And so you really want to look at what those, what that resource was mapped to, what standards were they basing it off of, so that do these align with my state standards, or do I need to really make sure that they are meeting up with that? So of course that comes along with mapping your course and really seeing, are there any gaps that you need to be supplementing with something else? And that's when you can go find those resources to make sure that your curriculum really includes all the information that you need for your state, obviously Colorado, since all of you are here in Colorado. But knowing that some of those resources will not be aligned to that doesn't mean they don't have good information and good things in there. So you might just have to really dig through and find the pieces that will work for you. And then, of course, integrating those back into your curriculum. So, so when we're looking at these remixing of the courses, we can use a combination of different lessons from multiple units. So if you're looking at, one particular concept, but it's covered in different areas and different curriculums, you can always pull it and change the order and make it work for you. And so these are also other ways you could do that, things like putting together a podcast with a slide deck and a worksheet, that maybe all three of those came from a different source, but they all meet the objectives that you're looking for. Another example would be a video, and then also looking for a chapter from an open source textbook. So we're going to be looking at some of those, but really there's a lot. If you like students to spend time working through traditional textbooks so that they know how to read a textbook and how to access that information, there are online textbooks that really still have that traditional feel, but it's in an online format. And those are really great because you can search them, you can go to specific page numbers. A lot of them have little note takers that the students can use. So it still has that textbook feel, but it allows, with the digitizing, more tools available for the students. Another example might be taking a lab that you use in your traditional curriculum and then combining that, which a lot of you guys did this, with an ed puzzle video and a discussion. So you can really, you're doing similar things that you guys were doing in your previous lessons, but now just getting a chance to really look at what are those different options of things that you can add into what you're already doing. Okay, so we are going to check out, it says check out ILCs. We're going to look at that in a second. So couple of things to remember when you are remixing is that you really want to get a variety for your students to keep them engaged. So things where you're just sending them to different websites to read text really is not going to be the most engaging. And that might be a piece of it, but then try to add some other things. Try to incorporate, videos, interactives, things like audio podcasts, things that they can listen to, that they can interact with. Those student choice boards are a great way to give your students that want those different learning modalities. You're letting them access that content in different ways that works best for them. So giving them choices of how they learn that information really, the resources will make that a lot easier. So you're not having to invent, 9 different options for kids to choose from, but you are using 9 different options that are available to you. And then also looking at what's available to you in terms of technology. And I know that different schools, you guys are kind of in a different place on this. And especially our preschool teachers, I know that, this has been a little different for you guys because you don't have the technology right in your classroom. So really thinking about, what you have as a teacher available to you that you can use. So in your case, using an LMS, which is a learning management system like Schoology or Google Classroom, that may or may not be the best option for you if you're a preschool teacher and the students cannot access that very easily. So these are things that are available to you, but you want to use what works for you. So a lot of you guys have had, you've got the Google Classroom stuff set up and you're starting to use and incorporate that. And that's a great starting point. I think I heard someone trying to ask a question. I heard a mic pop on for a second. Anyone have questions at this point about using these resources? No? Okay. Just wanted to make sure if you guys had a question. And you can also use the chat on the side if you want to type it in there if you have a question about that. So really just think about how you can use what you have, and if it's working and giving you some sort of organization in your classroom or something that really will help your students have one place to go to access the material, that's a really important thing. If you're sending your kids to 15 different sites and they have to log into all these different places and keep track of everything, that can definitely be overwhelming for students. And so having one central location where they can go into there and know where they can find all their materials, that is going to simplify their lives and your lives because you won't be answering a million questions. So, really utilizing those resources of an LMS if that works for you. Preschool teachers, if that's not working for you, like I said, we found one that seemed like it would work better, like Class Dojo. So if you haven't checked that out, if you're a primary grade teacher or a preschool teacher, Class Dojo has started to really beef up and include things like assignments in there, along with the reward system and the parent communication. So even if it's not a traditional LMS, you might find something similar to that that will work for your needs. So, really just thinking about enhancing your content with options for your kids to give them that voice and choice, and with things that are interactive that are going to help them meet those content standards in a variety of ways. Okay, so before I show you where to find the information that you will want to look at so that you can see what resources are out there, do we have any questions about using those resources? So it says, how available are the lower level resources in here? Like first grade and kindergarten level. There are definitely a lot of options for elementary and really lower grades. There's a ton of resources out there of things that you can use with your students that are available and open and free. And a lot of those things I think are really important at an elementary level because there's with elementary school, you're talking about a lot of pictures, a lot of diagrams, and that's sometimes hard to create on your own. And so for you guys, that's actually, I think, even more important that you have that available to you because it is so difficult to just create that digital content. So finding something that's already made is really gonna save you some time and energy. So did I answer your question, Amy? Okay, great. Oh, like Schoology? Yeah, Schoology is, you know, I here's what I found with Schoology. Schoology, I think, is a great platform for, obviously for adult learners. You guys are using it with us. I've used it at the high school and middle school level, and it works great in there. Um, I think that sometimes when you get down to the lower elementary grades, it's not as engaging, but you could still always use it just as a place to house your information. And you'll be amazed by how quickly, if you have something set up in an organized way, like in those different folders, you can teach those very little ones how to access that. If you have in like pictures of where they need to click each time to get to where they need to go, and they follow those picture descriptions of click here, click here, click here in that LMS, it's going to help them and they will pick up on it very quickly. But I think you do need to find, in terms of materials, something that's going to be, a lot more engaging than like just kind of the layout of Schoology can just be a little, it's a little stark for the little guys. So, Sharon, remind me what grade you teach. Okay, so kindergarten, yeah. So really, like, for you, I would definitely focus more on those things that are built for the lower elementary grades, like Class Dojo. I think you're trying to type something else and you're getting a at symbol. So it really, like, looking at the ones that are more interactive will really okay, too, there we go. I knew you were trying to type something else there, getting that shift in there. Yeah, and really, like, Class Dojo works for those grade levels really well. I've used it also for middle school, and the kids kind of laugh and joke about it because it is a little bit, designed for the younger grades, but they still have fun with it. So, really, you can use any of those for any grades. I think it just really depends on how you introduce it to your students and how clear you are with those instructions that you're giving them and how you organize it. And you think of the same thing if you were in I imagine you guys all have your classrooms very organized. Here's this bin where, papers get turned in, and here's supplies, and here's that. And so you have it all laid out, and within the first week, your students know your classroom. They know where to find things, they know how to turn things in. All of those things really need to be transferred over into your learning management system that you're using. You need to keep those same principles in mind. You want it to be easy for kids to navigate. You want it to, kids have really specific procedures. So they know when I log in to do math, here's where I go, here's what I need to do, here's how I'm going to show what I've done. So, really thinking about that, just like you would when you're organizing your classroom, is how kids are going to access it. And ask them for feedback. Set it up and say, is this a good way to show you guys where to find things? Or would it be better to do it this way? And the kids will be honest with you. They'll tell you which way works better for them so that they can find things easily. Any other questions? Okay, I am going to have Jane show you where you can find the list of open educational resources and where you're going to find those resources that are really going to help you build this, look at what's out there without having to just Google items, where you can actually go to specific websites and tools to find that information, which is really, going to save you a lot of time. So, yes, Jane knew right where I wanted you to go. Thank you. So, you're in the right spot. Yeah, let's go take a look in there so they can see where to find that information. So, some of this, first of all, you are going to be getting access to a course that is an open educational resource through ILC. These courses are set up in Schoology. And if you guys, I know a lot of you are using Google Classroom. If you're doing that and you want to transfer from Schoology into Google Classroom, there's instructions in here on how to do that. So, yep, right there, just right in that section there, showing you, videos and things on how to get that content from one platform onto another. So, you should be getting a survey. I think actually Jill sent it out yesterday. You should have a survey in your inbox from Jill Pellegrini that allows you to pick a course that you would like access to that you can use going forward. So when you get access to that course, you are able to make a copy of that and then you can start personalizing it. So remember that these courses are a starting point. These have things like assessment tools, like a lot of them have built-in quizzes, built-in discussion questions, things like that. And then you always have that ability to customize that to add all of those things that you've been working on in this course. So things like your videos, things like your ed puzzles that a lot of you were submitting, things that will engage and really take those courses to the next level. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they're pretty basic. They're really just here's the course that has the content and some assessment pieces in it. But it's a great way to start. So it says that survey asks if we have gotten a connection from Lene. Um, okay. Oh, right, like the connection from Schoology to Schoology. Ah, gotcha. Yes. So the since Yeah, so that will basically link your account and the ILC account so that those courses can be transferred to you. So it's just like connecting those two. So kind of like you're all connected with each other within your district. It's the same idea. So uh, down below that, you're also going to see some more articles about open educational resources. So if you just want to look through that and find out more information about that, there's also, you see there's an elementary school ELA collection in there. So that might be something to check out for those of you who are in the elementary level. And then again, down here, you've got some technology tools to support that. So remixing tools, and then also has that OER Commons. So the OER Commons is a place that you can look to find your, you can search for different grade levels, different subjects, things like that. So that's a really great tool that you can use when you're going through these different resources to find what you need. And then I know that where is the one? Yes, that's what I was looking for right there. And this is a one little, there we go. So now if you look in here, this is a list that we have. I've had this problem. I had to make a copy too. I emailed Jill about this. I don't know if they know who's the owner of that document. So um, yeah, yeah, I made a copy for myself too. I'm like, "Oh no, don't let that disappear." But I emailed Jill to find out why that's in somebody's trash. So this is the list of all different open educational resources that we have put together so that you can sort it. And since it's in a spreadsheet, you can sort it by grade level, by subject area. So you can really look through there and see what different options there are for your grade level and subject. So this is just a really great starting place to really start checking out those different resources and see what's available to you. Oh, you can't do the survey until you get that connection request. Yeah, Amy, give it like Jane said, I know that she is working on it. So let's give her, a day or two. And if you do not get that request by the end of the day tomorrow, if you can just shoot me a message and I'll follow up with that and check in with Lene and see if she had already sent those out and missed you, or it didn't go through, or if she was still working on it. Okay. So, really, this is your chance to really start taking those lessons to the next level. So, you've learned in this course, you've learned all about those best practices for doing blended lessons. You've learned how to create some of your own digital content. And now you're taking digital content that's already there, which a lot of you have already started doing. But now you can see, it's not just willy-nilly, let's go, search Google and find something. There's a lot of things out there that are already vetted, that are already ready for you, that you don't have to spend as much time searching and searching through thousands of different options to find something that works for you. This will help narrow that choice down so that you have good quality items that you're looking at instead of just general web items to look at. So I want in this unit, really want to see you guys what you find out there that you want to incorporate into your classroom. So don't feel like you need to submit something just, for this course. I want you to think of this as building your plans for next school year and trying out some of these resources and seeing how it looks when you mix them up with what you already have. So any questions, even if it's specific to a grade level, any questions about this upcoming assignment that you are going to be working on with writing your lesson plans? to include these resources. As I know some of you are shy about speaking up when it's a specific question to your grade level, but the funny thing is that then I get that same question from, you know, 5 other preschool teachers. So usually okay, great question. Dora was asking if there are resources for ESL students. And really, this, even if you're not specifically I know Dora, in your position, you specifically support ESL students, but you probably all have ESL students in your classes. So that's a really great question. There, let me see what's on ours if there is anything for specifically for. I know that some of the resources have ESL accommodations built into them. So I don't know if there's actually, like, looking through here, if there's anything li- like sorted in terms of like if you were sorting for ESL that would show up. But what I also have seen in a lot of these is that they have different ways for the kids to access the information. And of course, that's really helpful for students who are, needing those alternate forms that just reading a book is not working for them. So, looking at those visuals, how they can access the content. Oh, look at that. So, Jane, sorry, Jane, I was on a different page. Jane already found some in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which subject area or what you're working on. Yes, so, like I said, a lot of these, even if it's not listed specifically for ESL, just thinking in terms of those practices that we use to help English language learners access the content. So, if you're teaching social studies and, you have a student who is really struggling with the reading piece of that, how they can have other ways to see the content and understand it, maybe through the use of videos or interactives. Even the discussion boards can really help those kids because they can see in kid language what those, when the kids are talking to each other, it makes it a little bit easier for the ESL students to access that because it takes out some of that really difficult academic language and really, goes back to more kid language during the discussions to help them, be able to access that a little bit easier. Yeah, so Virginia, if you go to that folder, that is the resource folder in this unit, there are links to, I think there was a link. Is there a link in there, Jane? Did you see for the OER Commons? Yeah, there it is. So that's where Jane was just at right now. So the links are in there for different, tools that you can use to search for those resources for your subject. No worries, Virginia. It's so funny because you can always tell teachers because they're always worried about their spelling and the kids, when they're chatting in the chat boxes, and it's very much, a texting to them. So they use all the little, acronyms and things. It's I don't know if you guys, how many of you have used, and probably most all of you have used it since you were in quarantine, probably seen the chat features. But I give my students a lot of leadway in the chat box because I figure that that is really a form of like texting or quick communication. I tell them if they send me an email, it better be, they better capitalize the word I. But it is funny to see the difference between teachers and students in the chat. So funny. Okay, any other questions or anything that we could help you guys find? Yeah. Yeah, so the digital content warehouse is that piece where you do the survey and you get access to one of those courses. So that's what Jane's referring to is the course that you're going to get from ILC, and those are still work in progress. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, the idea is to give you something to start with. I even like just using them in terms of having a shell that's already set up with different folders for different units and different assessments, like just the organization piece in there, um, a lot of times is really helpful. Some of them I know are even set up by like weekly, and some of them are more set up by units. And so, kind of seeing different ways you could set up and organize your content for your students. Okay, any other questions? These were some really good questions, and, I really would love to hear if you have any other ones because, like I said, there's a lot of you that will, wait till the webinar's over, which is absolutely fine, but I, of course, like the, information it's nice to be able to share with everyone because usually your questions are, apply to a rather large group. So I have one more quick announcement before I let you guys get going. If you hadn't seen in the announcements, we were able to extend your course through August 10th. That was the request of some principals, and that you guys have a little bit more time to work through this so that you can really develop some good quality lessons and don't have to feel like you're rushing through everything. Um, the one piece about that is that I, of course, had scheduled my vacation because I originally thought the course was ending on July 8th, which is next week. So I will be out of town from July 9th through the 15th. So I will have my phone with me, and I'm hoping I get some service so that I can check emails and answer questions. I will not be doing grading during that time, so just know there might be a little delay on that. But you can always still call me or you can send me an email. If I don't respond within a day, day and a half, you can always reach out to Jill Pellegrini. She, I'm sure, would be happy to answer your questions. That's just in the case that I literally have like no cell service and am unable to. We're going to Yellowstone, so I haven't ever been up that way, so I don't know how how likely it is that I will be able to communicate. So, just a quick heads up about that, and then um, on the grading piece. So some of you, if you've ever used Schoology, may know that the Schoology does not sort submissions by order of submission, which is one thing that really drives me nuts because it's hard to keep track of who submitted stuff when in terms of grading things first. So I try to get in there ones that I've seen in there for longer and start with those. But if you notice that you have an assignment that's been in there for a week and it hasn't been graded, shoot me a quick message and then I'll know to get yours done first. It's for whatever reason, there's just no way to sort those assignments by submission date. I even looked at other people were complaining about the same thing, but Schoology got bought out by Power School and they've been adding some new features. So fingers crossed that they will add that feature in the near future, make that piece a little easier. Okay, anything else I can help you guys with? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, 50% of the course grade. That doesn't make sense. Let me look at, I'm going to pull up my grade book and see what is. Oh, I see that. Oh, you know what I think is happening? Um, so that's a yeah, because that's a different that's nothing for you. So that's my um that's my other course. I'm surprised you're seeing that. I will ask Jill to look into that to see why that's showing up on your end. Um, because that's a completely different section. I don't know if she put it in the wrong section or why that looks like that, because that shouldn't be that way. So just ignore that. The stuff that is in there for those units is your stuff. It will not, that's not a separate assignment. That's just, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So we'll figure out what's going on there and get that fixed. Okay, any other ones? Mhm. So, Sharon, if you are logged in using your district email, then that's probably yeah, I noticed that their district has some really it's their Schoology accounts are really locked down. Um, so I'm not sure why. That might be something that now that they've taken this course and now that they're using Schoology, they might need to speak with someone at the district about maybe giving them more, access to things in there. I know that some people actually had to use their personal accounts to take the course because they were having trouble even adding a course. So that definitely, I think, is a district question to find out what you're allowed to do in your Schoology accounts and what you can't do in your Schoology accounts, and if there's some things that maybe they need to adjust to give you the access that you need, that you're not having to take 10 steps to go through people to get what you need in your Schoology account. So I actually can have Jill reach out to someone too to just ask if there's maybe someone who can take at the district level who can take a look at those settings for you guys as well. Okay, any other questions? Sorry, I didn't see the whole wide field question originally because when you scroll up and then you forget to scroll down in the chat and it just stays right where it's at. Okay, well, it looks like I don't see any other questions popping up. But remember, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to reach out to me. And like I said, I will be out of commission for a little bit, starting the 9th. So if you don't hear from me right away, you'll know why. But if you have an urgent question and I'm not responding, again, just reach out to Jill Pellegrini and she'd be happy to assist you. Yeah, here, let's do this. I'm putting in your email address. There you go. So if you need something while I am out, you can, if it's related to transferring those courses and Schoology and everything, then feel free to reach out to Jane. Thanks, Jane. Okay, thank you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing all of the submissions coming in, what you guys come up with. So thank you again, and you guys have a great week. Thanks. Bye.